What is up? Well, my name is Warren Freeman Jr. This is episode 20 of Warren's Vlog. If you notice, I'm using a different software. I'm going to see if I can maybe use my computer instead of holding my phone like this, like a jackass. So, Payback happened, and the replay is already off the air. It's 2:30. Reason why I'm so late coming to you guys with this is because I was trying to find software different. I was playing around with different video software, video editing software. Tried to get the YouTube live thing to work. It didn't really work out. So I'm gonna use the software I already have on my computer to try to film this. But anyway, so Payback happened, and that's what we're here to talk about. So, um, you guys know how my ratings work: 0 to 5. If it's worse than a zero, it's gonna get like a point 0.3 or a point 0.7 or a point 2. I think the lowest rating I ever gave was point 0.3, which was Hogan and Yokozuna from WrestleMania 9. So, there was a zero tonight, but I'll get to that. There were two. We had a packed pre-show. We had a packed ass pre-show. Two matches on the pre-show. One of them wasn't even advertised for a pre-show match. Like I knew the Ryback and the Kalisto match was advertised for the pre-show because they announced that on Raw. But they had Ryback and Kalisto, which was surprisingly good, and we had Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler, which was okay. Um, Ryback and Kalisto surprised the hell out of me. Kalisto went over with the Salida del Sol. Um, those two have amazing chemistry for their size difference. I mean, they even had a good match back at in November during the Survivor Series WWE title tournament. I just hope they don't oversaturate it every single pay per view and on Raw and shit. But what the fuck was with Ryback and the CM Punk shit tonight? And then he got on one knee and it's feeding time or whatever he said. I mean, realistically, Ryback looks more like Thing than Punk does, but that's still Punk shit. And I don't know, maybe that was to get cheap heat because they were in Chicago. I don't know what the fuck was up with that, but whatever. Kalisto over. Ziggler and Corbin, this pissed me off. And it pissed me off that Ziggler went over. And it's not because I'm a Corbin fan. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a Ziggler fan. It's nothing like that. It's that Corbin won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and once again they've made that accolade mean shit. I mean, let's look over the Battle Royal winners. Cesaro. I mean, he got a little bit of a push. He had Heyman as his manager the next night on Raw, but then that went away once Brock came back. Then Big Show won it as if he fucking needed to win it. And then what does Big Show do with the next pay per view? He jobs to Roman Reigns. And then this year, fucking Baron Corbin wins it. And then what does he do? He jobs to Dolph Ziggler on the pre-show. Like, what is the point of giving this young upstart an accolade such as winning winning the Battle Royal, the Andre the Giant Memorial, and they don't do shit with it? It's like, what's the fucking point? It angers me. It really does. So we go on to the main show, which is the matches where I actually rated and gave ratings to. We start off with Enzo and Cass versus the Vaudevillains, and I gave this match a zero, and it's very unfortunate. Enzo got thrown to the outside of the ring and took a really nasty bump. I think his neck snapped against the bottom rope, and he just had an awkward bump to the outside of the ring, and he was just out. I mean, legit out. The referee rang the bell. They brought, um, you know, EMTs out, and they carted him out of there. And it's just very unfortunate to have an injury like that. Like, whether it's pro wrestling, football, basketball, like, it doesn't really matter. I don't really follow basketball, but this is a little unrelated. I'm a Steelers fan. I'm a hardcore Steelers fan, and we were playing the Browns in one game. One of the Browns players got hurt, and I was actually like, damn, that kind of sucks. even though I'm a Steelers fan. I don't like to see any football player get hurt. And if it's wrestling, if it's a heel or if it's somebody I don't like to see that person get hurt because that's their livelihood. That's not nothing to fuck with. And the reports that I've seen, um, because I've been keeping up on it, Enzo is okay. So I think Michael Cole said towards the end of the broadcast that it was basically just a whiplash concussion type deal. Which, if that's you know the least of it, then that's a blessing. So unfortunately, that match got a zero because there wasn't really. I mean, I didn't really have a choice. I couldn't really rate that, so I gave that a zero. So we move on to now. I didn't write these down in the order that the matches happened. So I'm gonna rate it in the order that I wrote the predictions in. So the next match I have written down is Charlotte versus Natalia, and I've said this about Charlotte and Natalia before with their match at Roadblock. I feel like they're trying to live off of that match that they had at NXT Takeover a couple years ago, and gonna it's just not gonna match up to that. And yes, tonight they had Ric Flair and Bret Hart at ringside, and it still didn't match up to it. And my prediction was right. If you watch my prediction video in episode 19, I said that the payoff that we were going to get was Bret Hart knocking Ric Flair on his ass, and that's exactly what happened. But the ending, um, I don't know if surprised is the right word, but it definitely pissed me off. Like if that's what they were trying to do to the WWE universe, then good job, Vince. You pissed us off. You fucking pulled the Montreal screw job shit again. It's just like it's just in such bad taste. Like I hate when they do that. I hate when they use the Montreal screw job thing as a crutch. And I'm sure Brett was cool with it, obviously. But and again, Charlotte put the sharpshooter on Natalia, and then Charles Robinson, which is like a Ric Flair's illegitimate son, derpy derp, rang the bell prematurely. And like I said, Brett obviously was cool with it, but it's still just so tacky and so just in such bad taste. It really is. And I think the tackiest use of that Montreal Screwjob was when they did the Rock Mankind shit the very next year at Survivor Series. I think that was like in the worst taste that you could have done it. But they always use that Montreal shit. They did it with Punk and Taker in Montreal. Um, fans are not going to remember this, and WWE certainly doesn't want you to remember this. But they did the same thing to Benoit in 2001 when Austin had his heel run. They did it again in 2006 with Shawn Michaels when same thing. Shane McMahon got the sharpshooter, McMahon rang the bell. It's something that's done. It's been oversaturated over the years, and it just really just didn't need to happen here. So I gave that a match a 2.7. The match was solid, but the ending just killed it for me. Um, Moving on, Zayn and Owens. I gave this a 3.8. And my original prediction was that this would be a no contest, so that way they can further the feud. But given the fact that the tag team match with the Vaudevillains and Enzo and Cass ended up in a no contest, I changed my prediction like on the fly because you're not going to book two no contests in a row. And I'm actually going to go ahead and talk about Miz and Cesaro too because this all was clumped together, which I did not like that shit. That pissed me off that they just decided to clump both those matches together because that's basically what they fucking did. So Zayn and Owens, that got a 3.8. Those guys are not going to have a bad match. And Owens went over, shenanigans. I mean, it wasn't really so much shenanigans. It was more or less clean, but there were shenanigans afoot because Kevin Owens is a heel. So pop-up powerbomb. But then Owens gets on the mic and calls Byron Saxton in the ring and demands an interview. And then they get talking about the Intercontinental title match. And then Owens goes on commentary and they have the Intercontinental title match with Miz and Cesaro. And my prediction for this was that Cesaro would go over with Miz getting disqualified. But that didn't happen. Basically, Kevin Owens was on commentary and then Sami Zayn kind of jumped him like leaped across the table out of nowhere and just started beating the shit out of Kevin Owens, and that took the focus away from Miz and Cesaro. And then they battled him in the ring, and then Cesaro knocked both Owens and Zayn off the apron, and then Miz got a roll up with the tights. So it was just kind of like you took the focus off of Miz and Cesaro and put it on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And then afterwards, it was fuckery. It was like Cesaro beat the shit out of Miz. Kevin Owens super kicked Cesaro, and then Cesaro was gonna pop up powerbomb Miz, but then Maurice pulled Miz underneath the ring. So I gave the Intercontinental title match a 3. Owens and Zayn got a 3.8, or Sami Zayn got a 3.8. So I got that covered. Jericho and Ambrose got a 3.8. This was a solid match too. I really enjoyed this. It was predictable because, like I said in my prediction video, Jericho had the advantage on Raw. Speaking of Raw, though, I gotta talk about Jericho owning Paige on Twitter because this shit was fucking hilarious. So Paige goes, putting people in submissions on the announce table was my gimmick. And then Jericho responds, "Child, go watch Monday Night Raw in 2001, where I tore Triple H's quad by putting him in a walls of Jericho on the announce table." And get fucking wrecked, bitch. I'm sorry. Like, get wrecked. Anyway, that was funny. Jericho and Ambrose, nothing really to say about it. It just, those guys can work. And they just worked. And that's really all I can say. Nothing bad, nothing really to critique about it. It was a 3.8. Jericho and Ambrose did good work. So let's see. I've covered everything but the main event. So, fuckery. Just fuckery. I mean, AJ Styles is an amazing worker, and anybody he steps in the ring with, he can elevate. And that was proven tonight with Roman Reigns. He made Roman Reigns look like $1 million, in my opinion. But it was overbooked as shit. Like, you had a decent match that ended on a countout, and that was a springboard forearm through the table, which was just a stupid spot to do. I don't know why they did that, but Reigns couldn't make it back in the ring for the 10 count, and then AJ won the match by countout. Then AJ attempted a high-risk maneuver, and Reigns did, like, I guess it was like a Superman punch that looked low. Watching it back, it looked like he hit him in the stomach, but then AJ started grabbing his crotch, like he got hit in the crotch, and then it was a DQ. So it was a count out, and it was basically a dick measuring contest, and I do mean this figuratively, between Shane McMahon and Stephanie. I guess I should talk about that too. Yeah, Vince McMahon basically wasted 15 minutes to tell us that, well, I'm just going to have you two compete over who should be the general manager at Raw. So that trickled into the main event because it was basically a dick measuring contest, figuratively, between Shane McMahon and Stephanie. The first time it ends on count out, Shane comes out and says, well, we start the match with no count out. And as soon as he said that, I knew, like, somebody's going to get disqualified. And then Stephanie's going to come out and make it no disqualification. So that fucking Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows can get involved, in which they did. And it was fuckery, Superman punch, forearm smash, a flip, and then a spear. 1, 2, 3. That was a 2.8. And I thought that I would give that match a higher rating just because of AJ Styles, but just the overbooking and the fuckery and the interference and then the dick measuring contest between Stephanie and Shane just kind of ruined that match for me. So overall rating 2.6. This was, from a wrestling perspective, this was a solid show. It was a decent show. I mean, but it has its flaws, and this is why I'm here. I critique shit, and I break it down and put it back together, and break it down, put it back together. That's what I do, man. I'm Warren Freeman. This has been episode 20. I take requests. So if it's an old school WWF pay-per-view that you want me to review, I'll watch and review it. and do it for you. And my computer went dark. So, all right. Anyway, I've been Warren Freeman. It's been real. I'm out. You guys have a wonderful evening or morning because it's like 2:30. But whatever. Peace.